What's the most NSFW thing you did last weekend? Stood on a desk chair to reach the top shelf. When I first moved into my home, I didn't own a ladder at the time. I have vaulted ceilings in my office. Think the place I play video games, but call it my office so people don't look at me funny. And the smoke detector is about 16 off the ground. I was smoking weed, and the smoke alarm went off. All of my smoke alarms are attached to each other, so the entire house went off at once. Apparently, these smoke detectors don't just have an alarm, but also a robot voice that says in between the alarm, "Fire, fire, there is a fire." I didn't really know what to do. My dogs were seriously unhappy. So I moved my sit-stand desk underneath the smoke alarm and put a 3-foot step stool on top of my desk, over my monitor. I raised up the desk as far as it would go while standing on top of it, climbed up the step stool, and used some pole thing to help me remove the fire alarm from the wall. OSHA loves me. Shout out to Fully. They make sweet sit-stand desks, and I can personally vouch for their stability. If you're ever worried about not being able to pinch off the turd fast enough and don't want to get up and drop the rest of the loaf onto the floor, just spread your legs and scoot back a little. Then Grandma can sit on your lap and pee in the open space between your legs. I grew up in a small one-bathroom house with a great-great-grandma who seemed to always have to pee anytime someone else went in and sat down. This only works with piss, just piss. Not. If Gam Gum tries to during this, she's just gonna mash mud into your balls. Don't try it. I used to be ordered to do this by my friend's dad while waiting for a ride to school in the morning. As he so eloquently put it, pinch ID off. I gotta go. A call to action, so wheel described, carried the instructions within itself. Pinch it, what it? I asked myself just before the holiest of epiphanies came flooding into me. I clenched. The sensation I recognized immediately, but I had only seen one action that perfectly embodied what I was doing back there. It was Food Network's Iron Chef. The episode was featuring sausage. Mario Batali was running ground and seasoned pork through to meat grinder, and when it came out the other end, he would use the forward motion to collect the meat within a sausage casing. Each time he filled one sausage, he would pinch to separate the meat inside of the casing until there was no meat between his fingertips, slide his fingers a little bit down the length of the casing to make room for a twist, which he then applied to the pinched section of the casing. This was my only familiarity with what I now refer to as making the sausage. It required a substantial amount of cleaning, which I had to do at school because I did not get to grind any more meat at their house that morning. Or ever again, for that matter. Poops were held for special occasions. I haven't made the sausage in quite a while, and I don't intend to. Masturbated to get rid of a headache. It worked. A crazy lady I met in the woods was going around offering headache relief in this way. I'll never forget her. She was having a psychotic break and asked specifically for me. No idea why I don't know her. While she was squatting and talking to me, she just started pissing right on the ground out in the open. No warning, no break in the conversation. Wild. To clarify, I'm not saying that you're like this woman. You've just sparked this memory. I am 33 years old, with 2 stepkids, a dog, and my parents' dog while they are away. Stepkids left Friday, and my absolute goal for the weekend was to sleep in. I went to bed at 9:20. I woke up at 10:55 a.m. Saturday morning. I feel like I broke the law. Enjoy that sleeping and stuff while you can. I used to sleep in until noon, no problem. Now, 6:30 feels like I won. Not because I got to do, because I just wake up. Although, many times it's as long as I can hold my bladder. Penalties for child neglect. All criminal offenses in Florida charged as neglect of a child are classified as felonies, where the neglect or abuse does not result in great bodily harm or permanent disability or disfigurement. The charge is a third-degree felony, with penalties of up to 5 years in prison or 5 years of probation and a $5,000 fine. Where great bodily harm occurs, the charge is a second-degree felony, punishable by up to 15 years in prison or 15 years probation and a $10,000 fine. A conviction for neglect of child may also negatively impact parental rights or result in a complete loss of parental rights. Kai entered a construction zone without a hard hat. Hijacking the top comment to talk about hard hat safety real quick. I used to work in marine construction. Past a certain point, you are required to wear full PPE. But like, the ladder I needed for the non-PPE area is literally 5 feet into the PPE needed area. I decided to go upstairs, put on my hard hat, steel toes, safety glasses, and gloves, all to take 30 seconds to grab a ladder. Well, the ladder wasn't secured properly, and as my back was turned, the 10-foot ladder landed directly on my head at full extension. It would have been a reportable incident, and I would have likely lost my job. Don't forget your hard hat. 32 and just had spinal decompression surgery, laminectomy. These comments are helpful. I don't feel so alone. I feel way too young to be having these problems, but it's good to know there's more out there. I didn't have a ton of pain, but I lost movement and feeling in my left leg. It was scary, but I already have sensation back and some movement 2 weeks post-op. I was worried I wouldn't be able to have kids. I feel so fragile, but I've been reassured that I'm not. I have work to do and I need to take care of my back, but my life is still in my hands. I've had bad back pain before. Chronic pain breaks you mentally. Please reach out to friends. I do recommend trying edibles. It may not take away all of your pain, but you may care less. Know that it is not forever. You are in the eye of the storm. And as someone who is feeling it, please know there are sunnier days ahead. Kai went through a similar experience this summer. Not as bad, but had extreme pain due to vertebral particulate being pretty close to some spinal cord's tissue. It's no nice way to put it. I was basically bed rest for half a year and fell into a deep depression and an eating disorder. I would never wish this upon anyone, and it pains me to hear that you are experiencing similar circumstances. I highly recommend spending time with family, close friends. This was the only thing that got me to smile. It was the only time I felt free from the injuries rather than chained down by them. I will keep you in my prayers, fellow Redditor. Hang in there. Kai was bedridden for a year, unable to walk more than a few feet, sit, or lay on my back, and constantly bleeding from my tailbone, lower spine area. Had to fly to a different state for surgery. Gained 50 pounds. Couldn't do anything, and the pain was unbearable. This was 2 years ago, and here I am, back to living after being fixed by a great doctor. I was severely depressed. I even wrote a suicide note. It seems like there is no way out when you are surrounded by constant darkness, but there is, I promise. It cost me a lot of debt that still bothers me to this day, but I'm glad I have my health back. This debt is not my fault, and learning that instead of beating myself up, healthcare in the US. I ended up getting my medical card, and edibles helped me tremendously since painers made me extremely nauseous. Also, invested in the Nintendo Switch. I bought old games I played when I was little to bring back happy memories I had as a kid, even though I was exactly 34. 2. Just please make sure you go to a good doctor for your surgery and do plenty of research. It's not worth it to be in agony all the time, and your back is nothing to mess with. I had a major back injury about 2 years ago. It about-ed me physically and mentally. You can't stop, even when you're screaming in physical therapy. Please, keep going. It is going to hurt. You are going to cry. Think about it like the fire burning everything away so it can start anew. You can do it. I'm still not perfect, but I went from a 5% chance of life to never walking again to wow, if she's doing it. Now I can do stairs and run a bit. I hope the best as well for your struggle. Elliptical help, yoga, bands, maybe cortisone shots. I hope again the best for you. I still have a ways to go myself. My sister has something similar to this. She's had back pain for a few years now, and turns out it was caused by several prolapses in her spine. According to the doctor, parts of her spine is rotten and straight up black because of this. She had surgery to remove the biggest of the 2 prolapses she had at the time, but after time the second prolapse grew bigger. She now has several new prolapses, I believe, and they debated operating out a few of them. The optimal surgery for her is to replace the bad parts of her spine with prosthesis, but there are only 6 doctors in Norway whom can do this. They all refuse because of her rage. So she recently had a surgery where they deactivated the nerve endings around these prolapses to hopefully help with the pain. It did not. I have no idea what the next step is for her, but she has almost constant pain and can barely walk because of this. Kai had something like this at 30. Not as bad pain, I wouldn't say, but numbness, pain, limping, anger, etc. I tried physical therapy and a chiropractor for a year and nothing worked, and I was pretty depressed about it. Tried cortisone shot. Didn't work. So I finally gave in and got surgery, microdiscectomy. It was the best thing ever. Short surgery, walked the same day. There was some taking it easy and recovery. But I would do it again in a heartbeat if it comes back. I get how you feel, but it could completely change your life. Hang in there. The pain will eventually resolve and you will feel better. Just gotta push through, my guy. You can do it. Don't do that permanent solution to a temporary problem thing. I had a bad shoulder injury that made it impossible to sleep. Numb left side. Constant pain. Whole deal. But the worst part was there was no way for me to fall asleep in any position. It lasted months and I was losing it. Eventually a surgery happened and it got even worse for a few weeks. That was the low. But after about a year or so it all got better. I don't feel it at all anymore and I can use my arm. I made it. My wife was on top of me, her favorite position for like the last 5 years, and she looked at me with a wise smile. She stopped moving and said, "I'm going to do something really slutty." She got off me, went down on me, and I finished in her mouth. It was incredible, not gonna lie. I haven't stopped thinking about it. It was off the charts incredible. I swear she is here at almost 60 than when she was 20. Well, I'll be legit. I'm a gay man, and I like to have orgies. So last weekend, my friend who hosts regular parties invited me to be the bottom receiver for a bunch of guys in our large group of friends. So I did that, because I like. And to everyone who's gonna call me a slut, I get tested every 6 weeks for STIs via an amazing free service in the city where I live, and I'm more aware of my UL health than most anyone I've ever met. My wife drugged me to an opera this weekend, so I got her to agree, reluctantly, to wear her vibrating panties. I agreed to not turn them on when she was walking, so at restaurant I decided to just barely turn it on. So we get to this god-awful opera, and we're in a small section with only 4 seats. No one else show up. So about midway through this thing, I decide to crank them up. She's squirming all over the place, practically begging me to turn them off. Finally, she achieved the big O after about 16 minutes. It was quite a sight. Luckily, this thing was fairly loud. I've started seeing this girl who seems just so perfect. Due to a little bit of distance, we see each other mostly on the weekends, but after she arrived on Friday, I was basically stuck at work from 12 in the day till about 11 at night. Not a complaint from her. All she wanted was some of the cooking I promised. She wasn't expecting it. She knows cooking cheers me up. Some cuddles, and some. I'm rambling because I'm love-struck like a goddamn teenager. So basically she milked my so goddamn good I audibly moaned loud enough for a flatmate to hear it. I on-call whore Henry Hoover for not. I met a girl on a dating app. We hit it off pretty well. She agreed to come over. We did tons of coke all night till 7 a.m. She gave me the best BJ I've ever had at Tattooing. It felt like there were 3 girls down there and a vacuum. We were surprised I was able to stay hard and figured after 30 minutes I could her brains out. She got on top and I busted my load in 2 minutes. I didn't even feel it coming. Pun intended. I was so embarrassed I thought I'd never see her again. We laughed about it and we still talk. Def would do it again. Kai went to an emo-themed drag show to support a friend. I'm typically a jeans or leggings and baggy tops kind of dresser. Very safe for work, androgynous. I got such a wild streak dressing up for the show, I decided to go in my lingerie underneath a trench coat, and Jesus Christ, it was so fun and liberating. My friend did really well actually, and I got to have just one night of being whatever the hell I am sometimes, out around other people being whatever they are. Kai am in a poly relationship. My girlfriend stayed over on Friday night. I tied her to the bed and fisted her vigorously. When my wife came home on Saturday night from a work conference, I told her all about the prior evening while she went down on me. Then we did the yesterday Sunday. I engaged in anal with my other partner, but she wasn't the one receiving it. Well, I watched the wife let some dude on her boobs. Blackguard even had the nerve to make her change his clothes after he shut himself in them. Then later, I fed the guy, and same thing, but this time it was me changing the little blackguard after he pissed and shut himself. 2 weeks back, I watched as this guy crawled out of my wife's coat. This dude, man, he really takes over. Last night, I sat in silence for a while, contemplated why did I decide to join Reddit. I was scrolling through my feed, trying to find interesting subs as I'm still learning how Reddit works. I came across a few interesting subs and some good reads, but eventually came across a sub that talks about the dark web. I was like, cool, you only live once, do it. Now, typically, I is not computer savvy. I thought to myself I wouldn't be able to figure out how to even do it. Wells, I surprised myself last night and did it. My point of this little story, don't let curiosity win in situations that should be left alone. Well, I'm married, so that's something. I suppose the most thing I did was use a powder-actuated nailer with only hearing protection and eye protection wearing sandals. This was to anchor a 10-ton jack that I inherited from the previous owners to the concrete floor so I could turn it without worrying about it slipping. Quarter turn, and the cracks in my stairwell seem to be getting worse, so I'm going to back it off the same quarter turn tomorrow and do another quarter turn on Wednesday. I'm basically around with my house's foundation and structural integrity to figure out what the hell the owners before me did. It's because nobody in their right minds would let me near one of these things at work without extensive training, licensing, accreditation, and maybe also a good reliable family member to keep track of in case I decide to do something stupid. Chem FM threesome with 2 new friends I met at a party. We both got along very well, and I really hit it off with his wife. Got dancing, got to flirting, and an hour or so later the 3 of us were stripping naked in a bedroom. It was so surreal getting permission from another man to help him double-team his wife. Turns out they're swingers from the next town over who came to a kink party in my city because they didn't want small-town drama and getting involved with the locals in their much smaller town. We talk pretty much every day, and we're looking forward to the next party when they make the trip. My son had a blowout but was wearing those sweatpants that are tied around the ankle. They're black, so I couldn't tell right away. He comes walking towards me funny, and about 2 feet away he plops on his, and I hear this squelching. So I picked him up, and when I did so his sweatpants pulled up and squished the liquid out of his turd onto the floor. Yes, it's carpet. So I took the radioactive child and hosed him down in the bathtub, and then scrubbed poo juice out of my carpet. Told her, kid poopy juice fall out, I clean. Quill don't know if this counts as but actually got arrested for assault last Friday. My friends and I were at a club, and one of my friend really starts to hit it off with this amazing looking woman. Well, her boyfriend notices and proceeds to punch my friend on the nose. Dude must be trained cause he actually broke my friend's nose. And naturally being the idiot, non-rationally thinking a person after taking 8 vodka shots becomes my other friend and I start to fight the boyfriend and his other friends. Bouncer breaks it up, police were called, and we're sitting in the cell in the police station. Friend's father is a well-known politician and proceeds to get us all out, including the boyfriend, and tells the police to drop the matter with no further questions asked and basically just leaves without saying anything. I live in India, and corrupt politicians controlling the corrupt, useless police isn't something new. We were detained for only about 2 hours after just went straight home. Throwaway since none of my friends know I use Reddit. An older woman who I've been dating, and I did shrooms before going to a planetarium. They played Dark Side of the Moon, as it's the 50th anniversary this month, whilst showing a whole visual thing on the big planetarium screen. It was awesome. Then we went back to our cheap hotel, smoked some weed, had some food, then had lots of. I'd come down a bit by this point, but she was tripping hard. She told me afterwards that she had an incredible time. It was a pretty good weekend. TLDR, gave my friend a handy in the forest before we started hunting. Went into the forest with my friends because we were bored. Spotted 2 iguana right inside some trees near a river. The place was decently forested and a lot of high grass, so you couldn't see into the spot we were unless you were in the spot. A friend and I stayed behind to make sure the iguanas didn't get away while my other friends went for a gun or other equipment. Originally, we just went for a stroll, so no hunting stuff. Plus, I don't like hunting but was bored, so just tagged along. The one that stayed behind decided to take a piss in the river and turned around doing the helicopter, and I just stared at it. I'm bi, and he knew, and he remarked, "Wanna touch it?" And I said yeah, as a joke, as all my friends and I do flirty stuff like that. My heart was pumping out my chest. I don't know if you guys know the feeling, and rears get sort of filled as well. He walked over and I actually started touching it. We didn't mutter a word once I started, and I gave him a hand job in the very spot. Only last like around 2 mined in actuality before he came, but it felt liking forever. When he came, I just dipped my hands in the river and he covered the cum and leaf litter. Took like a little while after that for everyone to show up again, and we acted like nothing happened. Haven't spoken about it yet, and I'm scared to ask him about. This was a few days ago. I'm working on a withdrawal of my antidepressants, which I've been taking for longer than 10 years. I went slowly down from 300 milligrams to 0. Everything planned together with my doctor. Middle of last week, I stopped taking them altogether. And towards the weekend, the gates of hell opened. Diarrhea. Feeling like I have to vomit. Nausea, dizzy. Pain like there is acid in my muscles. And I was ultra aggressive. I normally carry a pocket knife, but I was in such bad of a mood that I was afraid I could do something very stupid if someone s with me. Only left the house for grocery shopping and walking the dog. He was a bit injured on his leg, so we did not have to walk the big rounds. Told my mother, who I love dearly, don't even come close to my flat. I'm freaking Mr. Hyde, and I'll let you know when Dr. Jekyll comes back. Good food, smoking weed, watching movies and TV shows I like. Playing with my Nintendo Switch and cuddling with my dog helped me through this. I think I'm on the way up since yesterday. I'm a loner and always have been, but you should not do this alone. And don't even consider doing this and going to work. You will lose your job and maybe knock your boss out. My boyfriend went to sleep early, and I recently bought new panties, so I went to go take my nightly shower and wear them. Made a bunch of videos of me in my panties in different point of views. I showed them with me bending over, standing over the camera, and sitting on it like it was his face. I grabbed, jiggled, and squeezed my cheeks. I also slapped them a few times to get the jiggle and sent him pictures of the marking. It was fun. He woke up to some good views on a weekend. Wife and I went out bowling with some work friends. When we left the bowling alley and were on our way to the food establishment of choice, we stopped in a dark spot and had intercourse on the way. When we left, she gave me a 3 times while driving. Then we stopped 2 more times on the way home and had intercourse in dark spots along the way. Videoed it and posted it on Horror. Good times.